Hello, and welcome to I Hate Talking, a podcast about talking, including etymology, frustrating topics, current events, and other random subjects. I'm Adam.
And I'm Steph. We are married, and we invite you into these discussions with us as we talk about the good and the bad of talking.
We hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to episode 27 of I Hate Talking.
Hi, everyone.
So we're going to go back to our previous episode and actually just give the dictionary definitions of optimist and pessimist. So optimist is a person who tends to be hopeful and confident about the future or success of something. Or within philosophy, a person who believes that this world is the best of all possible worlds, or that good must ultimately prevail over evil. Versus the pessimist, which is a person who tends to see the worst aspect of things or believe that the worst will happen. Or within philosophy, a person who believes that this world is as bad as it could be, or that evil will ultimately prevail over good.
So given those two definitions, which would you, if you could only choose one, which would you be?
So within the philosophical definition, I would be an optimist because I do believe that good will triumph over evil in the end. However, in this particular day and age and the things that maybe we must experience before we get to that point, I would fall more within the pessimist category in terms of the world being a relatively evil place.
I still just, obviously, I'd be the optimist. But I don't see any benefit other than not being disappointed. I don't see any benefit in thinking bad about the world or bad about people. You're just worrying up and bothering yourself for things that may or may not happen. Why get upset about it until it does happen?
And then I guess we have to throw in our third category here, the realist, which does not have as much usage within the subject of philosophy, but it's basically a person who accepts the situation as it is and is prepared to deal with it accordingly. And there is a philosophical definition as well, a person who believes in the theory of realism, which is the attitude or practice of accepting a situation as it is and being prepared to deal with it. It's from Platonic realism, so referencing Plato.
Okay. Which is probably the most ideal, but also extremely difficult to do. I think that to be an actual realist would be very difficult because you have emotions and it would be hard to shut those off, your innate emotions off.
Right. And within the philosophical definitions, the theory of realism also presupposes that there is no dependent interpretation based on the perceiving agent. So meaning that the person that is experiencing reality does not, in fact, change reality. So interesting things to think about in terms of what reality is and how we are either prepared or unprepared for it, and then what our outlook about reality actually is, and if we're even perceiving reality properly.
It'd be easier if we were computers because a computer can be very realistic. Everyone's going to perceive reality so differently that I don't see how a realist is even an option.
And I don't believe a computer could be very hopeful.
No.
So we're hoping that our health improves. So tell us about our last few weeks.
Okay. It has been ridiculous in our house. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to come off like we're complaining, but it has been challenging in just obnoxious ways. So I guess initially I had some atypical moles removed, biopsied, and I needed them removed. I intentionally waited till summer was over. I got them tested early. Y'all, we're not a medical podcast, so talk to your doctor. I got them tested. They were not urgent, but would be beneficial to remove them. So I waited till after summer because we were so busy. And thank God I did, because who knew this ordeal I would go through. So I got them moved. It was supposed to be just removed. I've had them removed before in other parts of my body. I did not think it would be an horrible issue. Apparently, they put some liquid bandages on me after they stitched up the area, and I had a chemical reaction to it, chemical burn. So I came home from the doctors. You had already been at the doctors, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You went earlier in the day for your issue. That was a surprise. I had this planned for several weeks. I thought, no big deal. I'll just go, come home. It'll be like a 2-hour problem. And then I'll be a little sore for a few days. Life goes on. I was in so much pain when I got home. I was like, this is weird. Like, I don't know why. And we kind of moved on with our lives. I was trying not to be a baby about it. And every day it was just getting worse, like increasing the pain. It started to feel like I just poured boiling water on my stomach, the area the mole was removed, and I couldn't do anything without extreme pain. And ends up being that I got a chemical burn from the liquid bandage. I'll never use them again. I'll make sure everyone knows never to give me a liquid bandage. And things got a little better, but apparently there was also like an infection I got. So not the extreme pain was gone, but I still had a lot of pain, and my stomach just turned bright red and hot. And it was like every day it was worse. And I felt so bad because my boys wanted to hug me. I'm like, don't hug me. Like any movement, sitting, standing, any twisting to reach for anything was extreme pain. And I just kept feeling like I was such a baby about this. I went to the doctor again and they were like, I've never seen it this bad. This is ridiculous. And so they gave me more medicine. Yesterday, this is 10 days later, yesterday was the first day I finally felt like, okay, I'm doing better. Like, and then today I'm doing a little bit better than yesterday. So I'm optimistic that I am on the road to healing. And it's just ridiculous that this little tiny incision I had turned out to be, for the last 10 days, encompass almost everything I was doing or thinking, because I was just in so much pain and discomfort.
Yep. So certainly traumatic as my medical experience over the last 10 days as well. But I had a deer tick on me, and probably was there for a few days based on size and reaction on my skin, and went to urgent care to get that checked out. And normally probably would not do anything, but it had been on there for a while. And also the medical staff there, I guess, have been seeing a increased prevalence of Rocky Mountain fever from deer ticks this season in our area. So did follow their recommendations to start a routine of antibiotics. But these particular antibiotics that were prescribed was not allowed to have dairy. And it did also cause my stomach to be upset from these particular prescriptions. So that was 10 days of just very odd eating patterns, both from the food consumption things, because normally I would be eating cheese or other dairy products, and also just because of having an upset stomach and not wanting to eat certain foods, or eating foods that perhaps were not as nutritious, but they were at least more filling and settled my stomach. So not where I wanted to be, because in a few weeks we'll be doing a variety of races and other athletic requirements. So certainly feel ill prepared for that based on this last routine of medication and poor diet experience.
Right. Well, Rocky Mountain fever is definitely not something we mess with. And so I'm glad that you were proactive and took care of it, because it definitely, the tick bite area, we've gotten ticks in our area before. never seen anything like that on you before, or never seen a tick bite like that. So I'm glad you took care of it. But yeah, we found it about 2 hours before my doctor's appointment where I had my procedure done. So that you rushed to urgent care, came home, and I left almost immediately for my thing. So just between the two of us with all these problems, it's been ridiculous. I will say the cutest thing, our littlest boy has been so adamant that he knew that when you're done with your antibiotics, that you would need to eat yogurt and get some good probiotics in you. So every day he keeps, like, he has this like yogurt that he has. It's like the little kid Go-Gurt, so you're not going to like it. But he's saving it for you. And he's not having his favorite yogurt because he knows that this is for daddy when daddy can eat it. And I think that's the sweetest thing, that he's really intentionally trying to take care of you.
Yep, it was very cute. I think he was a little bit disappointed today when he ate one and then I think went to go retrieve me one and the box was empty.
Oh no, he ate his last one.
I think he accidentally ate the last one.
Oh, poor boy.
The yogurt, just like time, is running out.
That's right. But so yes, even sitting here right now, my stomach, I can feel it. So this is ridiculous, but I'm getting better. You seem to be in the clear, right? All the symptoms, everything seems to be good on your end. So no Rocky Mountain fever for you. We'll do better at checking ticks when we're out and about, and getting better for the next couple weeks when we have a lot of physical activities, and we'll just do our best. One thing I was thinking about last week, when we were in the midst of both, in like the main part of both of us not feeling good, we had a ton of activities we got to do. I almost said we have to, but we didn't have to do any of them. We wanted to. We love certain people and friends and activities. So we did not want to miss out on these, but we also did not want to pull the attention to ourselves. So when you're at an event, what can we do? Like if you're in physical pain, and sometimes it's okay, I'm sure, to tell people, hey, I love you, I just can't come. Or say, hey, like I'm here, but I really won't be able to participate. But like I was at an event and I didn't dance because my stomach hurt so bad. And I know people noticed and they were just like, oh, that's weird. But I just kind of like laughed it off because I didn't want to be like, if I get up, my stomach's going to hurt so bad. So how would you go about being respectful and also considerate of others when we are in this midst of this frustration times and pain?
Yeah, I guess for me personally, I would break it down into whether it is a duty or a nicety, where I'm going to, I think, do whatever my particular perceived duty is and do that to the best of my ability in lieu of not feeling well, or maybe even in spite of not feeling well. And I think there's been times where I have overextended myself because of that, versus a nicety where it is just something that is a nice to have type thing, or just maybe an optional event or activity where I'm either going to skip it or just not participate. And probably people don't really find that odd for me because there are a lot of things that I will choose not to participate that fall within that category anyway, even if I'm feeling fine.
That's true. That's why I think when I wasn't dancing and doing stuff, people gave me the side eye, like, that's weird. But I think I struggle because I am a bigger personality somewhat. Like I know you can, you're very happy in the background, often at social events. I tend to talk to a lot of people. I had a hard time not making it about myself. So I just didn't say anything. Not because I was trying to hide it. If I was given a time, maybe I'd say something. But I didn't want to make it about me because these events were not mine. I struggled with being honest because I also value that. I don't want people to think I'm hiding from them or being fake. So how do you not make it about yourself and take the attention on yourself, but also still be realistic with them and honest with people.
Yeah, well, it goes back to something that we've talked about in some previous episodes in terms of what is like polite conversation, like how are you doing? And that is, people just respecting a response of good, how are you? And moving on versus actually really responding
They
to
don't
that
want you to cry
question.
in the hallway.
Right, exactly. And tell them all your life's woes when they're just trying to be polite and say hi to you and go about their lives. So there is just even some of that cultural and communication type things that have to be known for the relationship in general. So I think it does play a part in terms of how close you are to that person, or even what the social situation is. Is it just a passing greeting, or are you going to have a actual opportunity to have an extended conversation with them? And this makes the decision accordingly regarding that in terms of how you share or not share.
Mm-hmm. And then, there's so much nuance that's really hard. But I really struggled even at an event because we were there as a family. You had some responsibilities, and so you were doing them, which is what we agreed on, what you needed to do. But I was tending to the kids, and that was in the height of my pain. That was the worst day. The next day, I went to the doctor and started on a medication, and then they added more medication and so on. But this was the first one I was like, I don't know what's going on with my body. I was like actually tearing up and trying not to cry there at the event because I'm tending to the kids and every movement is hurting. And in my head, I was like, why am I even here? I should have just stayed home. This is silly. Oh, also, on top of that, in our ridiculousness, our one kid got hurt an hour before we left for that event, or a half hour before we left for the event. He's okay. It wasn't horrible, but he got bonked his head. So he had a nice little bump on his head. We put ice on it and stuff, and he was okay. But so he was like, my head hurts, so I'm like helping him, but I can't do too much because I'm in pain. And in my head, I was like, we should have just stayed home. This is silly to be here right now. But again, that duty, right? Our responsibility was to be there.
Precisely. So there is even nuance in determining what is responsibility versus a nicety, and that difference between duty and option, as well as just the nuance in terms of how much you share with a person in terms of what is actually happening versus just going about your business and keeping the social situation within normal bounds.
And then on top of that, I was trying really hard not to cry because I felt like if I cried, I would lose it. And then it would not be good because I have a bunch of kids with me and we're trying to be quiet in this event. But I was looking around and I was like, it's probably just me thinking the world revolves around me. I kept being like, does anyone notice that I'm in so much pain right now and I'm crying? But no one said anything, which is fine. That's good. I did not want them to say anything. My question, though, is would you if you notice somebody crying like that, would you say something? Or again, is it just nuance? It depends on the person, the situation. How would you go about if you notice somebody's really struggling?
Well, I probably don't have to deal with that situation as much because of my gender. It would be very, very, very odd to see a man crying. And if there was, I think, again, it would depend on perhaps the relationship, if one existed at all, and also the closeness of that relationship that would determine how I would interact. And then on the flip side, if I saw a woman crying, maybe if there's nobody else around and it's something that maybe I could help with. But for all intents and purposes, that would be very low chances of that happening where I'm the only person around and I would not interact with that person. I would go get another woman or something.
So maybe you would share with somebody hey, it looks like so-and-so is having a hard time. Can you go check on them?
Yeah, I would do that perhaps.
Okay. Yeah, I think similar. I'm trying to think. I've seen guys struggle, not necessarily cry. I've had moments where I've seen males struggle. with something, maybe like I just pat them on the shoulder or give them a high five or like a knowing smile. I don't, like, sure, I don't usually sit like side by side with a guy and put my arm around him while he's crying. But for women, I do that. I have done that a lot. And sometimes it is hard because when you get that final, like someone's here, I'm here with you, then often it's like a release, like, and then you really start crying or really lose it. And so it's hard to know sometimes, like, can I do this? Like, if I hug you right now, is this going to make it worse? Because you're trying to hold it together. But I think it's super helpful. I love when people come over and they're just like, hey, let me give you a hug. Because it might be embarrassing, but maybe it's just my personality. But I just need that, like, it's okay. And you will be okay. And I see you.
Yep, I think that is not something I have experienced, like ever.
What would what would you want when you're having a hard time? What do you want people to do?
So I think, one, I'm not even going to express that in any way externally, because that is my nature. And also, I think to some degree, right, wrong, or indifferent, just a way that I respond to stress. And therefore, they would never even know. And then if for some reason they did know, I would not want them to interact with me.
Okay. What about me? Do you want me to leave you alone too? Because I can tell. And yeah, you're the same. Like you, yeah, just much more stiff and quiet. Sometimes I go back and forth, I guess. It depends on what mood I'm in also or why you're in that mood. But like if you're hurt or something really sad has happened, like I feel like I try to like nuzzle up to you and like force myself to like be as close to you as possible. And I can feel you stiff, but you do tend to seem to like soften a little possibly. Or is that just so annoying that I do that to you?
No, I think that's fine. I think that's for our own relationship.
Right. That would be weird, possibly.
Yes.
If a friend did it, or especially, yeah, I wouldn't want another girl to do that to you. I would be upset, I guess, if another girl came up to you and started nuzzling you.
Yep. Not acceptable.
Okay. But I can keep doing it to you.
Correct.
Because I still do. Okay. But yeah, pretty much no matter who it is, I just want like a big bear hug from someone. Like, the more tight the hug, the better when I'm in those moments.
Well, there you go. So now we're all better, I guess. Getting better.
You're done with your antibiotics as of today, right?
Right. I'm still a little bit off in terms of reestablishing like a normal diet. So still don't feel completely normal. In fact, I have a headache right now. That could be just because it was hot today or for a myriad of other reasons, but hopefully we'll be getting back to normal soon.
Right. And you haven't really been able to do your normal workout stuff, but you will be hopefully slowly getting back into that, right?
Exactly.
And then I definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel. I am not good yet. I'm still in pain and struggling, but infinitely better than I was 48 hours ago. So I take that as a win. And I go back on Wednesday for some more stuff. So I'm really anxious that they're going to mess it up again. Or not that they mess it up, but I'm going to have a reaction to whatever they did. And so I am struggling with that anxiousness of like, I'm almost better. Do not do this to me again. But I'm almost there.
Almost there.
Well, yeah. And going even back to our words, we were talking about optimistic and pessimistic. I'm obviously always very optimistic. And I don't know how many times in the last week and a half I've told you, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I feel like I'm making a big deal about this. I'm obsessing over this, and I don't know how to not obsess over this. And I think sometimes it's even, at least for me, I don't know, I want to hear your perspective on yourself. For me, when it's these tiny things, this little spot on my stomach that ended up spreading all across my stomach. Or like if you stub your toe or ingrown toenail or those sort of things seem like in the spring, I broke my toe. And it was weeks months of so much pain. So those little things, sometimes I struggle with those more than a real broken bone or a real serious illness. Do you get bothered more by the small little things like that just won't go away? Or is it the bigger catastrophes that bother you?
In the moment, definitely the bigger catastrophes, right? So, like if you're seriously hurt or something, I think that as well you should, right? Regard the pain in a way that you're going to seek the medical help that you need to, or be able to ascertain somebody else's pain levels appropriately, so you can determine if they need medical assistance or just first aid or whatever the case may be. I think in the long term that yes, those small things, especially if there's many small things that are additive in nature, that those will become more of a nuisance in such a way that that is going to be more painful or annoying. However, I think the thing that I keep in mind is that pain is just a tool. It's, for all intents and purposes, an illusion, because it is just nerve endings within your body telling your brain that something has gone awry, and that you can regard that and make the necessary adjustments that you need to, whether that be seeking medical attention or just changing the position of your body because something is not feeling right. That then you can thank your body for that pain and then sort of just categorize it in such a fashion that it's not painful anymore.
I do love that thought. The idea of like, thank you, body, for telling me something is wrong and is beautiful, but it is so hard to do.
You'll have to try to find it. There is a Star Wars quote, I think, to that effect in some form or fashion. I don't think it's from like the actual canon, so it's definitely not from the movies. I don't even think it's from like the official books. It's from like the adjacent official books that I'm thinking of this particular quote about pain.
I don't know. Yeah, there's a bunch. I mean, there's like the dark side always. It speaks to us from our pain, our grief. It connects all pain to pain and hurt to hurt. What?
Yeah, there is certainly a lot of Star Wars quotes, right? Yoda in particular, that talks about pain and suffering. This actually is specifically about a physical pain that was then basically realized and then recognized, and then the person moved on about whatever they were doing. So, what about yourself? Is it the small things or the large things that cause you the greatest distress?
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think it's the smaller things, which is so frustrating to me. Like my stomach or my broken toe a couple months ago. Um, they're so tiny that they shouldn't be bothersome. But I think also because they are prolonged, I get really tired quickly of them. Like my toe, broken toe, as an example, it hurt and I was taking care of it. But after a couple of weeks, I just got so tired of not feeling good. Where, like, using my example as a mom, being in labor, that's miserable and it is so painful, but it's just a day and then I'm done. So I think I can have that mindset of like, this is going to be a terrible day and then I'll be okay. But it's for these other things that go longer, like my stomach, where every day it got worse. That like it got exhausting mentally, just thinking like tomorrow's going to be worse than today. And I know people that have severe illnesses, and it can be really difficult when you know like I'm going to get this medication. Tomorrow's going to be really rough. Or the next day after the medication will be really rough and that kind of thing. I think that mental makes it worse. So even if the physical pain isn't worse necessarily, it's the mental breakdown of it that gets exhausting and hard.
Indeed. Yep. So just even that outlook that the pain will not be gone the next day, that you have this chronic pain makes it all the more difficult as well, not necessarily just the level of pain itself.
Right. Yes. That's a good way to say it.
Well, to all our listeners out there, we hope you are healthy and happy and optimistic about your future. So until next time, from your friends at I Hate Talking, remember, it is only through talking that we begin the journey to understanding.